This week, we hit the source of all weakness, public education. So, what's the story? Well, it appears that a lot of teachers are telling us they're not getting paid enough and that their working conditions are terribly poor. But what they're actually saying is they're not happy with 12 weeks vacation a year. Furthermore, they're upset because of their measly working hours and 5-day working weeks. In fact, I myself, Steve Fox, was once a teacher, and I can tell you that teaching is one of the weakest and slackest jobs that a human being can perform.
Hello, listening people.
Hello?
You're listening to Spit and Posh presents a Televisual event, a monthly show that we're doing while all of this epidemic quarantine stuff is going on, in which Bartek and I talk about a television show. We don't usually talk TV, but hey, times they are a-changin' and they are a-weird, and we do miss the mystery box, but for the time being, we're doing this, talking TV. Bartek.
And what's your name?
Bartek? That's my name. And you're Ryan. I'm Ryan, and that's Bartek. Bartek, how are you?
I'm doing well.
That's good for you. You're not going to ask how I'm doing?
Ryan, you are doing well.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. I'm doing well. Oh, yeah, pretty good. I had set that up. I was waiting for you to ask me how I was going. I was going to say, oh, yeah, pretty good. We are here doing our show, a televisual event. It's still very new. We're still figuring out. This episode, we are going to be talking about a cult classic Australian television show that very few people have, unfortunately, very few people have seen, Double the Fist. So before we actually talk about it and get into it and get into our history, relationship, and what we think about it and what the show is, I am giving a little PSA right here to you listening. If you have not seen this show before, it's on YouTube. Double the Fist, all 16 episodes are there. Just give the first few episodes a watch, even, and come back. Just watch the show, give it some time, because this is a very underviewed show, a very undervalued show. Whether we like the show or not, do give it a watch. Just a couple of episodes. They're only like 25 minutes long, and they're on YouTube. Double the Fist is a show that, just to give the pitch of it, a show in which a group of people, fictional characters, which is the twist to it, are doing these death-defying stunts of a sports variety and eventually later kind of crazy varieties. A kind of a riff on what was popular at the time. It's
like a jackass reality game showy kind of thing,
in which these people are trying to earn the iconic award, the Full Fist, which is the glorious award that shows the world that you are the most awesomest person ever. You've achieved this transcendent level of masculinity, of awesomeness, of Full Fist.
The highest honor of the show's ideology.
And the show's ideology, in turn, is about taking seemingly average, mundane things and eventually cranking that up, and taking these seemingly mundane things such as abseiling or like triathlons and stuff, and adding a death-defying fist nature to it, which is adding absurd things like abseiling, jump off a cliff without any safety ropes or anything, just do that.
To take away the weakness.
To take away the weakness from things. Reality television, but how about we actually kill them? That's the pitch of the show. They use special effects. They are fictional characters. It operates on a cartoon logic where people die and then they're back. That's the show. Give it a watch on YouTube. It's right there. I don't know if the creators of the show, I don't know what the whole deal is with it being on YouTube, because this is a show from the ABC, and just a little quick rant from me. I own this show on DVD in my hometown, so my parents have the DVD copy. I could not, for the life of me, find a physical copy of this show. And since it's a small Australian show, it's not on ABC's website or iView, and it's not one that you can easily torrent or download and stuff. the easiest access is on YouTube, and I
Yeah,
personally would love. I actually did order a physical copy of Volume 1, which is the first 4 episodes. Could not find the second season. Could not find Volume 2 with the other 4 episodes. And I really, really wish that this show, and this is just me ranting, all Australian comedy shows, the smaller ones such as Life Support, Review with Miles Barlow, this, really cult classic or great shows, they have a lifespan of distribution for a couple of years and then they're gone, and it's kind of like they didn't exist anymore. That's kind of how I feel. And then you see they're on YouTube, and I personally don't know if they're, like, you know, approved by the creators of the material if they're on YouTube or not.
Because isn't the channel they're on something like Double the Fist Archive or something?
Yeah, and that's cool. And
Like,
all.
is it
And
a fan? Is it Craig Anderson? Or what
is it approved by the people? Because I love this show. This is my relationship. I love this show. I want to own physical copies of it because, Bartek, the DVDs are fucking amazing to this show. They've got so much character. All the behind-the-scenes stuff is really funny and very self-referential. And there's a contempt for the ABC very strong in it, which we'll get into. But, yeah, the DVDs are great, but little rant, I wish that the distribution of this was more readily available, but this is just me complaining about Australian television in general. It's kind of like they're just shows that they're gone. Even big shows like Fat Pizza. I cannot find for the life of me old Fat Pizza episodes outside of having to go to the darker side of the web or YouTube or whatever. It annoys me as someone who wants to appreciate these shows, watch them, own them, that if you weren't buying the DVD within the 2-year the 2-year span of him being released on television and then released on DVD, then you have no chance of ever watching him again.
Yeah, for a country that seems to really value its, local products. Yeah, it's weird.
Like I mentioned, a show I love is Review with Miles Barlow. Can't find that on DVD. It's on YouTube, and I specifically don't think that one's approved because it's kind of zoomed in and.
Oh, right.
This one seems like, I don't know if it's approved or not, but that's just me raving and ranting about my disdain for this. I love this show. If I can get into my history since I'm talking, I saw this show when it kind of first aired. I didn't get to see it on the TV itself. My parents recorded it because this is one of those shows where, typical Australia, you air it at a certain time, first episode or two, and then you push it back. You push it back and you push it back and you keep pushing back the time, change up the days, whatever, to the point in which no one can watch the show.
Right, yeah.
So my parents would record the show and we would watch it, and then eventually we bought the DVDs. And the DVDs were a struggle. Volume 1 was easily available. Volume 2, it was like searching for the fucking holy grail. Eventually got it. Never got season 2 on DVD. Never was out in my area. And then by the time I came down to Melbourne, I kind of forgot about it because by then it was like 7 years ago at that point, or 8 years ago. So here we are. I love this show. I would show off this television show to all of my friends in my hometown. I would give them DVD. We would marathon it. We would chat about it. We would do our own version of it. In high school, we did like the video projects, and one of them was like a recreation of an already existing piece of media, and we did a Double the Fist. We did like the first 10-15 minutes of the high school one, obviously.
Yeah.
That was the Womp. And that's the kind of thing, we love this show. And I love this show, and I would show it off, and it's just one of those things. But I've never in my life met someone who has seen this show outside of me showing it to them.
Right, yeah.
And that's just so disappointing, because I think that this show has a lot going for it, and it's just so uniquely Australian, and has a comedy sensibility that rings true to my comedy sensibilities. And I love showing it off. I just love watching it. I just ingratiate this show. Every few years, I'll just... To be honest, when I was rewatching the show for this, only out of courtesy for my wife did I restrain myself from just watching the first season in one sitting. That's the kind of show this is. I would just watch it in one sitting, if I was allowed, or if I, didn't feel like courteous to someone else. But I would just watch this in one sitting. Bartek, what's your relationship and history with the show?
Ryan showed it to me.
Just the one?
Just the first episode.
It was on YouTube.
It was on YouTube. It was the one that I watched.
You seem to enjoy it. at the time. You seemed to enjoy it at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it's that thing of people realizing very slowly that it's a fake show with special effects and stuff, because you are a fan of those
cheap stuff,
jackass boys.
Yeah, the few things I've seen, I've enjoyed.
You've talked about them in high regard, so that's why I'm like, you seem fan. So you kind of watching this, I remember, and there comes a point where you're like, oh, this is fake. Is it the panda bear suit that pops up and all of that? But what did you think of the show?
Yeah, so the first viewing, which was like 2 years ago, I think it was...
On Australia Day.
I think it was on Australia Day when you were showing off your special playlist.
Mm-hmm. Made an Australian comedy playlist, one of which had an accent so Australian, Bartek thought it was another language.
Yes, until the very, very understandable accent spoke English. I'm like, oh, this is in English. And I've gone back to that video. I'm like, oh, of course, it's in English the whole way through.
This is from somebody who speaks another language himself. And he's like,
well, it didn't
another language?
Well, it didn't sound like Polish.
I don't know what it sounded like to you.
It sounded like gibberish.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Polish then.
Yes. I can speak Polish because gibberish is easy. Yeah, I enjoyed it that first viewing. Even though it was a realization of like, oh, I see what this show is. Even 2 years later, when I'm finally sitting down to watch the whole thing, continuing watching it, it still subverted my expectations. Like, oh, I didn't realize it would be like this. So my whole idea was like that every episode would just be, an episode from this sort of fictional universe in which this show is real.
Yeah.
But then as the show goes on, there's a lot of like meta narrative things going on to the point where it kind of stops being it for the most part, I guess you could say.
You mean season 2?
Season 2 especially.
Yeah, season 2 is a whole kettle of fish.
Yeah.
So did you like the show?
I liked the first season and I liked parts of the second season.
Congratulations, you are someone who has watched Double the Fist, because that's the exact consensus. I like the first season, and the second season is a weird kettle of fish, and I don't understand it, and it's weird, and it's bizarre. So, a bit of context for you, Bartek, and a bit of context for the listening people. This show originally aired in the mid-2000s.
I think it was 2004 and 2008.
ABC didn't really support it, or at least it seemingly didn't do its job in doing it. It won an AFI award over Kath and Kim, the AFI award, Australian Film Industry Award, as the comedy show of that year. It won it over the famed and beloved Kath and Kim. Somehow it won it, and yet ABC didn't support it very well. It was kind of like its ugly duckling of a show that probably kind of pushed back and pushed back.
Yeah, well, probably because Steve Fox was rude to them.
Yeah, I wonder if that's a thing that is a byproduct of how they were being treated. But it won an AFI award, and it basically, the show winning that kind of made it kind of like it spat in the face of everything we stood for, because Kath and Kim was the most beloved thing ever, and this fucking show that no one's seen before, and it looks like a vile, mean show, won over the beloved Kath and Kim, and then it got cancelled. And it was unfortunate. One season show, weird little show. And then somehow, a few years later, it got brought back because the audience demanded it. And the ABC obliged and brought it back for some reason. And the second season is, they're brought back. They've got a bigger budget, or at least seemingly bigger budget with what we see in the second season. And they've been brought back with large ambitions. The first season, small ambitions. Ambitions within the budget kind of ambitions.
Yeah.
And the second season is a revival. It's a return. It's Twin Peaks Season 3, in which it's completely different from the other product, but also it's so related to it that you can't separate it. I love Season 1. Season 2 I do not like, but we could talk about that when we get into Season 2, because Season 2 is a fascinating thing. Season 1, it's hard to say if there's a favorite episode, but was there any that stuck out to you?
I really enjoyed the Fear Factory episode. I think that was episode 4.
4.
Yeah.
What about it? So explain that one.
So in this episode, they're making fun of reality TV shows where everything is, it's all fake or
Yeah, your
not
fear factor
not as
and all
not
that.
as real as reality suggests. And this one has the team split into two with some added guests, 2 guests each. for
Ugly
the team.
Dave, the famous Australian comedian, Ugly Dave.
Mm-hmm. And they're being put into this factory that Steve has acquired and put a bunch of, weird things in. And their goal is to, was it just to make it out the other end or
Survive.
something?
Yeah, survive.
Yeah, survive.
They have to find their home base. They
Yeah.
have to survive the deadly predators, which are flying sharks.
They're swimming, but they're not in water, basically.
Yeah, they're flying sharks. And they have to be the survivor of it all.
Yeah.
So you like that one.
There were some parts in that I really liked.
What about it really stuck to you? Because I love that episode, but I'm going to toss up between that one and the Fistathlon. The one where they
That's
have
the one
to-
right before it.
One
yeah,
right
third
before, the one where there's a time portal. And that's how we got the blue,
Yeah.
the blue one. That's how we
Yeah.
get him. But
I think it was because this is the episode where I picked a favorite character, which was Steve Fox himself.
Wow, okay, you're a Steve fan, huh?
Yeah, which, when I say that season 2, I only like parts of it, it's because maybe they didn't do what I wanted them to do with some things, but
You
yeah.
mean Steve.
Steve, yes. But yeah, it was here that I really started to notice his inflections on certain lines. Like,
It's in fact evil flying furniture.
that is one of the 2 major lines, yes. But like, even in general, his delivery in that first season is when he would commentate over something, he would sometimes do this, like, out of place, mocking, childish voice. Like, he would say it like this, kind of.
He has a real high nasal inflection. He reminds me of the Australian media personality John Safran. He has that kind of inflection naturally, and he kind of reminded me of that. I agree. Steve's delivery vocally is
His
so
his
good.
inflection sounds like he's mocking a person he's talking to, but he's really just describing what's happening on screen. So it's this weird contrast, and it's really funny. for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. What was the other line?
The other line was so I guess there's a context to it where it's when Mephisto has been taken over by the
Ancient evil demigod.
Aztec
Demigod housed in a stone head.
Yeah,
Of
yeah.
course, logic.
Yeah, and he drives away in his car, and Steve Fox then turns to the camera and, like, he's gonna deliver a line as if it's gonna be in general, but it's like, if there's any Aztec demigods listening, and just, like, the fact that he's specifying Aztec demigods, like, just that.
You better keep driving. Oh god, I love that. Yeah, this show's characters are very zany and very up to 11 in their caricatures. Of,
Yeah.
You got the psychotic ex-security guard. You got the sportsman, the ladies man, sex pest, and then you got like the dumb, good-hearted kind of wrestler guy, the Womp, and then you got Tina T and the rest of them. Tina T's like the Greek girl.
The chick.
She's like the kind of wog girl who's like, I like building traps and like doing all that kind of stuff. And then you got Steve Fox, who is the mischievous observer. That's how I kind of describe him in the first season, because he's not involved in the things. He eggs them on to do bad things, such as one of my favorite Steve moments was in there's an episode. Okay, this show goes from let's take on abseiling, the weakest sport known to man, to let's take on terrorism. In 8 episodes, like in 7 episodes. That episode's called Episode 7, in case you didn't notice by all the graphics.
Yeah, let's take on terrorism
But
because it's
there's
weak.
an episode where they want to take on logging, and the Womp's idea to get into the logging complex is just to ride his bike head on into the gate and think that will break the gate. And Steve's reaction is just like, good idea, Womp, and just like walks away and just watches in glee. He's like a chaotic observer. Like, he just loves the mischief of it, and that's the stuff I love about Steve, because as a kid, my favorite was the Womp. He had curly hair, he was dumb, he had some of the funniest scenes, like the golf scene, when they have to play golf, and once they tee off, the panda, who is a tertiary character, starts hunting them with a Glock, And the Womp sucks at golf so bad that the panda has to teach him how to play golf.
Because the panda can't start hunting until he tees off properly.
And so the panda gets pissed off and then just teaches the Womp. It's like a whole little montage. It's really sweet.
Like,
You got the gun in the hand and everything.
Very gently, it's like, hey, you did it, you did
and
it.
then, like, he did. The Womp hits the ball, a little clap, grabs the
bag with the clubs,
and puts it in, and then just bang, straight in the backhead, shoots the Womp.
Yeah,
and
starts
it's like
walking away as if it's just a normal golf game, and then just
stuff like that with the Womp really got me. And I think also the Womp's character really picks up when the blue Womp is introduced, and they introduce this idea that the Womp is a tattletale, and he's like a bit of a coward, and he's a bit of a whiner. That was what I liked as a kid, and I liked that he was big and silly, and he had the dumb ideas, like wrap himself in bubble wrap to survive jumping off a cliff, or wrap himself in masking tape and stick to a van, that kind of stuff. As an adult rewatching it, Steve Fox is the best fucking character in the show. That performance is amazing. Craig Anderson nails it in that first season as Steve. Every single thing he does is correct. There's not one moment, like one of my favorites is when he's quoting Confucius, and then he says at the end,
well, he makes a statement about Confucius,
and then he's quoting a Confucius statement, and then at the end he's like, but I reckon I could kick his ass. And like just that alone.
I think he just says Confucius has said many wise things.
I think he says power is something or other, but I reckon I could kick his ass. And I just love shit like that because it's a dumb joke, but it's delivered with that inflection and that performance, and you got the image of him splitting his legs, and it's CG, it's funny, and just the absurdity of his like, but I reckon I could kick his ass. It's so Australian in that regard of there's so many people we know and just stuff who are just like, that just have that kind of blunt perspective on things like, well, there's this profound thing, but I reckon I could just kick its ass. And that's what's great about this show. They take these simple things at start and do these dumb, simple ideas of like, oh, Rod's going to survive the cliff jump by jumping really far. And then they slowly crank it up to something more serious or something a little bit weirder like reality TV. That's a bigger concept. And then they crank it up to the public education system. And then they crank it up to logging. And then they crank it up to terrorism. And they're still doing these dumb approaches to it, like these very blunt force, like, well, if we just take out the terrorists, then it's over. Like, that's the attitude.
Yeah, it's like, this character, how are you going to do this?
How are you going to get rid of terrorism?
Yeah, and it's something that you're like, yeah, that is what you do. Now do it.
Now go do it. And that's what I love about that first season.
Yeah.
Is that's the approach. You get this, eventually, we deal with tough topics in the first season, like terrorism, sexual assault even, and they still do it in this very immature Australian bravado type way in which it's like, well, we're going to sort this sexual assault out in Steve's court, which is in a squash court. And it's like, all right, you get to choose your weapons. Rod, you go first, shotgun or sword? Like, you're going to start like a duel. And that's the kind of thing that I love, is just that kind of silly, like, dumb brute force mentality. And it's kind of like, to me, a commentary, or at least a reflection on that kind of Australian psyche to a lot of things, in which it's, oh, we can just sort this thing out because it's stupid, and we can just sort it out with brute force. And that's, like, anytime a character approaches an intelligent solution to a problem, they're immediately shut down. It's like, no, don't do that. That's stupid. Or the character could come up with a smart solution, and then it's like, no. We're not going to do that smart solution because that's not right. Like in the Fear Factory one, when Rod and Mephisto are arguing about which stairwell to take, and Mephisto's like, it's obvious, and the one he's pointing to just says, who cares?
Yeah.
Says the answer. Like, obviously it's the other one, but he's just like, oh, come on, it's obvious. Okay, so like we said, this show deals with these topics and does this jackass type stunt stuff with CGI elements. And do you have any favorite kind of use of their implementing real stunts with CG?
There was somewhere, like, when they end, it's like, first it's like real, but then it becomes CGI. Like, I remember in the second episode when the old lady, was it Edith? Or Edith, when she's going down the slip and slide, and then right at the end, like, there's this fast forward, clearly edited bit where, like, she trips over. little bits like that where it kind of like blends, like, oh, really happening, but then CGI happening.
Or when Rod explodes into a watermelon that they exploded earlier when they threw it off a cliff.
Yeah. Again, because I'd only seen that first episode, and that was my idea of what the whole show was. Even in that episode, Steve Fox was a little bit different. Like, he was a bit more rational. Like, he ran away from a grenade at one point.
Yeah. Well, he would still do that in the rest of the season.
Yeah. But he seemed more in like host mode.
Yes.
And then starting the second episode, he just gets just a bit crazier, and then the rest of the season happens.
Because the second episode's premise is there are people writing in saying that they're the biggest fans of the show, and they're not fist worthy, they couldn't do this, blah. And he's like, well, we're going to show that anyone can do it. Like,
Yeah.
The second episode is in the universe that this show is very popular already, even though there's been one singular episode of it.
Yeah, it's yeah, you start to get the ideology of the show, which is like, obviously, yeah, don't be weak, be fist worthy, but also that they're there to help the weak to become fist worthy.
Exactly. And obviously this is a joke, of course, because the weakness and the way that they approach this is just so... It's a very Australian mentality to these kind of issues or these kind of things. There's been many times in our lives living in Australia in which you experience something very, very tough, and you express that this is tough for you, and you'll get some really weird, macho, bravado, Australiana piece of advice of how to solve it. The basically suck it up, darling, you'll get over it kind of attitude. And this show kind of amplifies that to a ludicrous degree, in which you have characters who are not sure of themselves, and then Steve will basically yell in their face that they're a fucking weak dog and they need to get over themselves, and then they're like, you're right, Steve, you're right.
And even like with the letter of the week spelled W-E-A-K, like a lot of them are really positive and like they're really into the show, and he's like, don't watch this anymore, you're weak because of this thing.
My favorite letter of the week was from that one person who thought that they could join the fist team, and Steve's like, oh, aren't you? Well, here's you. And it's like a box, like with a face on it on a stand, and then he says, like, Steve is like, here's you, and you're writing a letter. Ooh, you're so smart, you're so clever, like, there's so much contempt. And then it's like, here's you in your kitchen baking a birthday cake for your dog. Here's your dog, and it's just a box with nothing drawn on it. And here's your cake that you made for your dog, and here's me kicking your dog's ass. He starts beating it. He just like walks in frame and starts kicking this box of it. Then he's like kicking. That kind of absurdity is what I love, and that's probably my favorite letter of the week, because it's just so absurd. But
yeah, all of the like eye catch or like transition scene stuff is all like bizarre, no context. Like, here it is. Like, one of the ones that I was fond of was just whenever it was basically who's that Pokemon of like, what was weak.
Yeah. And it was like, oh god. And like, so to give context, it's like this thing that's already been smashed or squashed with a bat, and then it gives you a chance to guess what it was.
It gives you 5 seconds to guess.
And then
what
it reverses the footage, and it's like, it's a garden gnome or something like that. And they only did a few of those.
Yeah, only like 2 or 3.
That's the thing. This show is filled with little cutaway gags.
Yeah, cutaways. That's
in which you have, say, this segment is the Womp telling you about history and how this piece of history is very fist-worthy. Like the iceberg sinking the Titanic is one of the most fist-worthy natural events in all of mankind's known history. Or Mephisto Knows, in which Mephisto, the insane security guard, tells you some fucking scary piece of advice on how to solve a problem, like vegetarianism.
He has a rant about something in society and then how he deals with it.
And it's very psychotic and crazy. The best one of those, I think we can both agree, is in episode 8 when it cuts to Mephisto Knows, and it's just a shower, and he pops up and he's clearly naked and jerking himself off. We only see his head and shoulders, and he's breathing heavily. He's covered in sweat, and he just goes, heterosexuals, and it cuts off immediately. And Steve just goes, ooh, too hot for TV. Mephisto. That's the kind of stuff I love, and that's the recurring thing that I think season 1 really nails down, is as absurd as these things are, such as Rod playing ping pong and is hitting a million balls, and then at the end he gets the paddle thrown at him like it was someone else was there doing that, not just like a machine. It always feels like it's commenting upon or making fun of that Australian macho, nitro-fueled masculinity kind of aspect of, the extreme sport. You're not cool unless you like football, and you're not cool unless you like to do a fucking flip and break your back. That kind of attitude, and that was very prevalent during the mid-2000s, during our adolescence, that kind of thing, especially in rural Australia where I came from, where a lot of people you don't ride a dirt bike without a helmet on, you fucking, mag, like that kind of attitude. This show always has that running throughout, even in its sillier little cutaway gags. It's always about how absurd can we make that attitude, and especially back then when you had something like Jackass on TV, in which is a show in which that's celebrating idiots hurting themselves. This is a show that is celebrating fake idiots hurting themselves who aren't real, and they're not actually hurting themselves, and they come back to life in the next episode.
It also, and I really enjoyed this about it, there were a couple of running gags that first season had, which was a more meta look at when they're having to deal with like laws and stuff. So, like in the second episode, they have a scene where they're shooting something out on the street in a place called Canangra, and then a council member comes and like completely derails the whole thing. And then for the rest of the season, Canangra and that council member is just
the honorable Philip Nugent,
the biggest punching bag that they can get. Then there's in the Fear Factory episode, and just on this episode alone, it's just a random thing that doesn't mean anything, but there's like a sponsorship thing for Lakemba
Auto World. Where
And
Steve just says that's where he gets his cars from.
yeah, just a straight up ad, like call this, tell them my name, you get 5% off, and that's it for that episode.
Which, for context, for international listeners, in Australia, there's two, primarily, now just one channel, ABC, Australian Broadcasting Corporation. They do not have ads.
I think it's commission.
Oh, commission, sorry.
Yeah.
Commission. They don't have ads. They only have ads for television shows of their own, but they don't do sponsorships on there. They're like that's not, so a show cannot advertise something. So Steve is there advertising a local business that he is profiting from.
Yeah, and then nothing happens from that in that episode, but then the next episode, Steve has this cutaway moment where like
It's a letter of the week.
Letter of the week where he explains that like the ABC is really pissed off at him for doing this.
And they want an apology. So he does a half-hearted fake apology, which he says, "Do not go to Lakemba Auto," and then the screen and text comes up on the screen saying just Lakemba Auto. It doesn't say not. And it's like, "Do not call this number," and he says the number on the screen. He says the number. And like, "Do not mention my name for a 5% discount."
Yeah, he repeats the ad, but adding not.
That kind of stuff is always great, because this is something interesting too. The show presents itself like it's a cartoon logic, and in the first few episodes, it presents it like there are no lasting consequences outside of a single episode. It feels like it's episodic television, right?
Yeah.
But then the Fist Athlon, the third episode, presents the idea that the Womp has multiplied himself like a bajillion times.
Yeah.
And then episode 4, Blue Womp enters the scene, and you're like, oh my god, they're carrying over something from the previous episode. This is unfounded.
Yeah.
Or
all but one of the clones died, and this one came for the rest of the
he's
season.
he's in a few episodes, and then from then on, you have these running threads, like the Canangra thing keeps running through, and the Blue Womp thing keeps running through, and Rod being a sex pest keeps running through the show.
And in the episode where Mephisto isn't there, the school one, like the thing that happens to him at the end of the one beforehand is the
Fear Factory one.
Yeah, is the thing that he's dealing with in the next episode when he reappears.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just lots of running things that you don't expect at the beginning, because like you said, you think it's going to be like our first episode where they're just going to do these little
two of them straight up
fictional
died.
Yeah, and then
they're just back next episode.
And it's like a cartoon, and you're thinking, oh, since it's a cartoon logic world, like it's the wacky, Amazing Races or whatever, there's not going to be overarching elements. But then the show says, no, there will be.
Yeah, it's not like the South Park thing where like at the end of every episode it goes back to the status quo.
No, this show's like it does that, but also it doesn't. It does both, and usually in a show, that would be annoying, or it wouldn't work, or it would be too odd. But this show, the first season, does a great balancing act of enough of a cartoony logic with enough of our real world logic. because you have real segments in which they're interacting with people, like How Low Will You Go, in which Steve is daring people to do horrendous things for the lowest amount of money possible, like drink bin water or eat 5 jars of mayonnaise.
The bin water, I actually legitimately threw up.
What?
I did. At first, I was just retching, and then I paused and like went back, and then I was like, "Oh shit!" Something came out. I just had to run to the toilet.
But garbage is garbage. The way they slow down his voice. Garbage is garbage.
Oh my god, that guy.
He did it for $10.
30 or 30.
Oh yeah, 30.
Yeah.
There was a guy who drank toilet water for $10, and this is where the thing is too. Even some of those, there are some fictional aspects to some of those segments. So the garbage guy, that was a real guy, and the chick who ate the mayonnaise was a real person. But there were some people in there that are friends and family or actors that are building up the scene, such as there's a bit in the Eat Mayonnaise one where there's a guy with a mustache and glasses, and like they keep bidding how low will they go with him and the girl who is Dutch. And I love that. They have these great font choices and graphics. Like whenever someone says no, the screen will freeze and a text will pop up saying weak,
like
or
a stamp.
like a stamp. And this one girl just says she likes eating mayonnaise because she's Dutch, and then just Dutch gets stamped like that's something wrong. But there's this one guy, and he's like, I won't do it for less than $50 or whatever it is, and then he gets stamped with a week. That's like Craig Anderson's dad. And then he comes back being one of the advertisers for Lakemba Auto World. So they have these kind of things. Or the toilet water one, the guy who drinks the toilet water, I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure that's the guy who plays the fictional character Miles Barlow in the TV show Review with Miles Barlow, because Craig Anderson, who plays Steve Fox, is a recurring character in that television show. So there are some trickery and aspects, and that's what I want to talk about, trickery, Bartek. You know how there are TV shows that do that the man on the street thing?
Yeah.
The Chaser did it, this did it. Are there any examples that you can think of at a young age where you realized that those were fake, or some of them were fake? Like staged or done for show?
I think I didn't really watch as many of those. I think maybe when I was in high school and I was watching Chaser's War, I was still kind of like iffy. I'm like, oh, this is really outrageous, and it's cool that they're doing this, but are they really doing it? Because it's like, I think there was like a current affair thing that's like, they're faking it.
Okay, so the Chaser, just for international listeners too, the Chaser are a comedy group, journalist group. They're like former journalists who really did wacky stunts, and they always were politically commentating on something or other.
Yeah, satirists. And
they would do their man on the street routine, like a guy who speaks too loudly on his phone and he's saying gross...
Clyde, the slightly too loud commuter.
Yeah, and he would be saying gross things, or you'd have that kind of stuff. They had a previous show called CNN. I can't remember how many NNNs there are, but...
I think just one or two too many.
CNN, Chaser's non-stop news network, blah, blah, blah. They had a scene where they were doing a man on the street, and the man on the street they had was Mephisto from this TV show.
Oh, really?
And that's the first time I had ever realized that these were fake as a small child, because Mephisto, I found out later, is their special effects graphic artist guy. He does their special effects, because the guy, he does them for Double the Fist, he does them for the Chaser, and I realized... they're fucking lying. That's Mephisto. And then I found out he fucking works for him. I was like, there's a fucking lie. I just want to bring that up because this show doesn't pretend the full time that it's ever real. So those How Low Will You Go things pretend that they're real, and they do have some realism there. I loved in episode 8, the special edition, when they cut back to Sharon, the one who did eat more than one jar of mayonnaise, and the sun got her.
Yeah.
And Steve just says, no one suspected the biggest enemy would be the sun, or whatever. But my favorite part of that moment is Sharon's eating the mayonnaise, and even Steve was disgusted. He goes, "Look, you can even see the disgust on my face," and it zooms in, and he's fucking disgusted. But I'm really shocked to hear that you threw up at the bin water. Like, I never have any reactions to these kind of things.
Yeah, I was
like, I never have physical ones. I just go, ugh, like that. I cringe a little bit.
Maybe it's because I ate before, and I do like the retching thing wasn't too unusual for me, but actually throwing up, that was like, oh shit, I can't believe I did this.
So
it's only a little.
You liked Fear Factory, but just talk about specifics. Was there any specific sequence or set of events or scene in particular that you really dug? Whether they be one of the cutaway ones or, like, say in Fear Factory, I really love the... No, it's not a poltergeist, but in fact, evil flying furniture, and then the fun sequence where Rod's fighting the furniture. That's like one of my favorite sequences in this whole entire show. But do you have any that pop out in this first season?
Well, definitely the poltergeist thing, and again the whole thing that there's an Aztec demigod here, because that's really bringing the supernatural. You know, not even just like the back to status quo factor, but like within the episode itself.
Yeah. One of my other favorite, other than the golf one, I think the golf one's my peak. Like, if I have to show a singular moment from the show to someone to pitch them the show, it's the golf one. Because each character approaches the golf one in their character's way. Rod thinks that he can just do it because of his natural skills as a sportsman.
Yeah.
And he fails. Mephisto is psychotic, and he has a whole speech where he's like, you know, highway Steve, they have toll booths, and in toll booths they have the toll collectors. I'm the toll collector, Steve. And he just grabs out a knife, kicks the ball, throws the ball, and then he just goes hunting after the hunter, after the panda.
Yeah, after the obstacle.
And then he loses anyway because he placed the ball in the hole.
Yeah, he actually kills the obstacle, but then he doesn't play golf properly.
Fucks up. And then the Womp is just too dumb. Doesn't know how to play golf, and he's not very good at anything. And the show even addresses why they have the Womp on there when he's so slow and dumb and doesn't really know what he's doing.
Well, early on, he kept bringing up the fact that his big thing was his pain threshold, but then as the show goes on, it becomes, you know,
weaker,
useless, like not really a thing.
No, because he's a liar. Because he's even lying when he's talking about that, I feel, or at least exaggerating. But the golf one's the one I would show, but any time you have a cutaway to Steve, it's hard to pick a favorite Steve. I like the Confucius one is just so silly and very in your face, but I do love the one too in Fear Factory. Again, the Fear Factory one has a lot going on, but the Fear Factory one I like is when he's got the letter of the week from those two women, and they're like, "Could we see more shirtless Rod or whatever?" It's like, nice try, Rod. And he goes and he has a photo of Rod with those girls, and he's just like, if you're one of the contestants on this show trying to write in as a fictional person, get out of here. Like, never watch this. He does this thing. I love that. Another segment I do enjoy is when Steve just beats the fuck out of Blue Womp. Just like it goes on for so long.
The high school punch up.
And it just goes, yeah, that whole sequence where it's been built up since like the previous, like, because the Blue Womp was getting on everyone's nerves as soon as he entered the show.
Yeah.
And then that episode, he just like cranks it up to 15. Not even 11, 15. And it's just Steve beats the shit out of him. Like, you think he's dead because he doesn't come back for a few episodes. And then like in the other episode, he's like terrified and crying. Because he has to shoot himself with a cannon.
Yeah, Steve's psychoticness was very high in the school one. Like, there was the segment, I think, just before the punch-up where it was Rod versus that girl. They were having, like, the competition. Like, when you get a mathematical question wrong, you'll move
closer towards a lawnmower that's on its side and you'll get chopped up.
Yeah, the difference from the correct answer to the answer you gave closer there. And he asks the girl, like, how much do I weigh?
And before, he also asked to Rod, what number am I thinking of between 1 and 500? And it's like he's asking on these unfair questions, but I thought that would be a joke you would love. How much do I weigh? And he's like, because he's a big, he's a big guy.
He's very, very, very big. And even in the action scenes where you see like his full form, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's big. And so you'd hear this, you'd imagine like, oh, maybe he's sensitive about his weight, maybe he's just curious, and you never really get an idea of what he's thinking when the girl gives the answer.
Of like 85 kilos.
Yeah, 85 kilos.
Which isn't much.
Which is 15 less than what I weigh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he has this weird smile the whole way through. He just like indicates like, all right, send her forward, and she goes all the way into the lawnmower and dies. And you never get a sense of like, oh, he was offended or he was upset. It was just this really weird thing. Like
It was malicious.
He was amused by the answer.
Because Steve, too, as a character, he sets up impossible scenarios a lot of the time, too. Not only because of the physical, but like reenact Gallipoli and plant the flag and you win. And then the ones who lost won because that's what happened at Gallipoli. They all got massacred. And we should never forget that the fact that we followed the English into death formed our country's mentality. Yeah, that's true. But that was a rigged match. Because he said, this is how you win. And then the kids won that and they were losers because that's not how Gallipoli happened. Fuck you. He does that a lot. And that's what I love about Steve. He's just chaotic. Like, that's what you said, the psychotic thing. Season 2 embraced that weirdly. And we'll talk about that when we talk about season 2. But season 1, he was psychotic. But especially when he was interacting with our characters. He was only psychotic when he was pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed. The blue one was the whole episode was being wound up and being wound up and being wound up and being wound up.
Yeah.
And then he just snapped because he was constantly like, get away, leave me alone, go over there, stop talking. He was being a teacher.
Yeah, this isn't, which he formerly was.
That was one of my favorite opening speeches of the premise of the episode was weakness in education, like teachers, oh, boo-hoo, you get like weeks and weeks of holidays and boo-hoo, and like just basically shitting on teachers. Then he justifies it with, I was a teacher once, you don't hear me complaining. Which is, as someone who's doing teaching, you must have loved that scene. Rachel, my wife, who is a teacher, she was fuming. She's like, fuck you, Steve.
Yeah, part of me was like, I think I believe that.
But I love just the cutaway gags are really funny too. Like that's the thing. Like they're short, they're sweet, but they are really funny. Did you have any standout cutaway gags that stood out to you that we haven't mentioned?
Not really that it was funny, but there was that one where Rod was like juggling golf balls with a golf club.
Yeah.
It's just cool to look at. And then it was funny that like the whole thing was like really impressive. Then he just messes up at the end and it's like no fist.
Yeah, no fist. What about the one where he loses his arms and then he starts wiggling his stump arms and he gets a double no fist?
Yeah, and even in the 8th episode, the special feature where like special edition, sorry, where all the deleted scenes are from episodes that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So there's, like,
or they're from segments from episodes that clearly didn't exist either. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Or whole episodes that just like that. Episode 4 wasn't about that.
Like this episode, which was called Wonderland, apparently.
Did the basic thing of the show too is each episode is a competition. Who's going to win? With all of them, we've seen these kind of things before, done serious or not. This is kind of like your, wacky races, amazing races, where you got these ludicrous characters and you root for someone. Did that work for you? Did you genuinely, at least in some way, shape, or form, feel compelled about who was going to win? Were you rooting for anyone in any episode, or were you like, was there that aspect that worked for you in the show of this is a competition, each episode is a competition of who's going to win? Did you have an investment in that at all?
I don't think I did. Maybe in the smallest sense, sometimes the Womp had like an underdog thing going for him. But in general...
He earned the most fists in the first season.
I think he did, yeah. Definitely the first
He won 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe sometimes for him, just because he is like a bit more of a lovable-ish character. But in general, I knew the fictional nature of the show and I was just seeing how it all played out.
But was there a favourite moment where someone won a full fist? Like, do you have one that you go, oh, that was great? Because for me, it's when Mephisto won for the
logging one.
No, when he won. I actually remembered when he won the second episode with the amazing Darren, who died, and he won't be joining us for legal reasons as a competitor on the show. That's probably one of my favorite ones because it's so absurd, and that was horrific. Like the guy's screaming.
I guess with the logging one, just the funny aspect of he didn't even know they were doing a show. It came in right at the end and he won.
And it was neat because you didn't realize he was going to be the evil antagonist. You didn't know there was going to be an antagonist in that episode. You were just like, okay, and then it's like, oh, there's a payoff here, huh?
Yeah, and also the demigod was back.
I did also appreciate when Rod won for the Fear Factory one because he just stayed in that one location with his gun. And that episode, you thought he was going to lose because he was
the horror movie antagonistic hero guy.
All your team members have died. Do you feel like you let them down? Well, who's still here? Who let who down?
Yeah,
exactly.
They let me down by dying.
Yeah, when she died from the shark, and he's just like being interviewed after, he's like, I really sure thought that she would have taken care of those sharks, but I guess it just wasn't meant to be.
Doesn't he even like say something like, I guess I'll miss her.
I guess I'll miss her. And he doesn't though, does he? Talking about the actual characters and their characterizations in this first season, they do evolve in the first season. You know, the Womp, I personally feel, evolves in episode 4 when you introduce the Blue Womp. He I feel like his character gets much better defined. Other than just being the dumb guy, he becomes a whiner and a whinger
with a bit of an inferiority complex.
And also, he in that comes across as a little bit smarter than the other two, like than Rod and Steve, than Rod and Mephisto, because he's noticing things that they aren't, or commenting upon things.
More sensitive in that way.
You also see that in the third episode where he's like, he knows he actually can take leadership position, where he's commanding his clones or his different versions to go down the tunnel, and like he's figured out like how much money they need to get on the ferry and all of that, and he's actually smart, like goes back to the portal and dumps all the money so they can get more money. All of that, like, I think that the Womp does have a smart characterization, but what did you think about all these characters? Other than Steve, we love Steve, but what did you think about these characters, the other characters? Did you have any particular favorites or least favorite, or stuff that they did with them that you really enjoyed and were fascinated by? Or didn't like?
I think I was kind of neutral on all of them. Like, again, with the Womp, he had a bit more going on, so I was a bit more generally fascinated by him. Yeah, and I know this is jumping ahead, but it's very interesting what season 2 ended up doing.
Yeah. What about Rod? Hot Rod. They do a lot with him in season 1. How did you feel about the journey they took with him in season 1, in which it's always been an underlying thing that he's a sex pest, and then within 7 episodes, he becomes a full-out rapist.
Yeah, attempted
rapist.
Because she woke up right at the end.
But then by episode 8, it's like he's into underage girls with his music video, which is fucking
Oh,
terrifying.
right, that's right. Yeah, that was episode 8.
Yes. Where he's a stalker as well.
But
I see you while you don't see me.
Yeah, but it was a catchy song.
It was a catchy song, and it was pinpoint accurate to how boy band music videos were at the time. But what did you think about that? Was that too edgy or too overt or too dark? Because the show is surprisingly dark. There are moments where you go, fuck, that's dark.
I felt that it was very honest.
Because, just for context, there is a scene in which he does form a genuine, or seemingly genuine, relationship with Tina T, who is a female character who replaces Mephisto, and they never give her any introduction. It's just kind of like she's here, and you have to take it, which is, we'll talk about how you felt about that, because I have feelings about that. But Rod and her form bonds, and they team up together, and they work really well together, and they have a flirtatious relationship, and one that seems built on a genuine relationship of some sort. And then Rod, as soon as he gets the opportunity, while she's been knocked out from him accidentally, but
unknowingly from him, but from him regardless.
He takes the opportunity to try and sexually coerce her. He tries to he kisses her, and he starts to pull down her pants, and then she wakes up, and he does the old, I was trying to resuscitate you, and it's really gross and full on, but I think you nailed it. It's honest. It doesn't feel like that's not a thing the character would do. Because it's always been there. Like, he's a weird sex pest.
Like, what's the other punchline? Like, oh no, he was nice all along. He was misunderstood.
Yeah, he falls in love with a vending machine assassin. But
that's season 2, Ryan.
That's season 2, Ryan. We don't get into Tara until season 2, right? But, like, I love that because it is brutal and it is horrid, but it's honest. It feels real to the character. It feels like if they didn't do that, then it would be that lame joke of, oh, he's an obvious creep, but they never actually act on that. But they do, because then there's that bit in episode 4, we keep referring to Fear Factory, where they hear a gunshot and they run up, and he's been shot in the leg, and we don't get to find out what the fuck that was about, but you know what it's about.
Yeah, the girl that he was with is holding the gun and it was like kind of aiming at him.
And you know what it was about. You know he tried to do something.
Yeah.
He tried to do something bad.
Yeah, you never get an answer for what it was,
but you know, deep down.
You know that it was something that we later learn is honest.
And what about Mephisto? He's kind of the weird one in the show. Mephisto as a character. What do you think about him? Because he's like a weird, bizarre character that you could either love or hate. But even in the special features, which, they're so good. They talk about character relationships, like, oh, it's easy. Like, make 2 of them brothers, make one of them best friend to the brother that the older brother has, like, an infatuation with. And then there's just Mephisto standing there. And then, you know, sometimes it's okay just to have a character no one likes. Because Mephisto, like, even in episode 8, they explain, like, why he's on the show. Like, so many people are like, Mephisto's, like, the most hated character on Australian TV, but why is he in the Fist team? He seemingly does nothing. It's like, oh, really? Well, here's his audition tape. You tell me. And it's him eating a beer bottle and crying. Stuff like that is what I love about Mephisto, or Mephisto Knows. All of those segments are great. Or the fact that he's like, I think he peaks in episode 4. We keep saying it, but Fear Factory is such a great episode because him and Rod hate each other, which season 2 forgot about, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't know why they forgot that. It was like the most interesting dynamic in the show outside of Blue Womp and Womp hating each other too.
I guess it's because episode 4 was the one where the characters really had to interact with each other more.
Yeah, but they...
It wasn't just like, let's see what this individual's
doing. Oh, don't worry.
doing.
Season 2, they interact too, and they just forgot that dynamic.
Yeah.
Whatever. But I love... One of my favorite gags, Bartek, with Mephisto is, all right, you get to choose between being the leader or having a gun. And Mephisto's like, give me the gun. And then Rod's like, I'm the leader. Okay, first rule is leader. Mephisto, give me the gun. And he does.
And he complies.
Because he's a security guard. He knows he has to comply.
But also, he knows that there's another gun nearby.
Exactly. Because it was a trick question. Because it was like, what's this? Is like a trapeze artist or a dickhead? It's like, there you go.
Trapeze artists are dickheads.
And Rod's offended because he's done it. I'm trying to think of what else to say about season 1. Oh, can we talk about its open contempt for being on the ABC and how glorious that is? Because
yeah, that's basically another byproduct of the ad and, you know, all the hate they get for that ad
and
because
then
of their
the show being cancelled.
Kanangra thing, yeah. And that's basically the end of the season.
No, we got to talk about how they actually do end the season.
Well, of course, yes, but for the show itself.
Oh,
the show in the show.
The show in the show, but it's like it's always great when, especially Australian shows do this. Fat Pizza did it with SBS. They have this kind of thing where just some shows have this cheap, grimy feel in which they're not afraid to say, we fucking hate being on TV, and we fucking hate the people that are running the show behind the scenes, or we hate the network, or that. And whether that's the genuine feelings or not, it's so refreshing and wonderful to me to see them have open contempt, whether it's for comedic effect or not, of being on the ABC, because the ABC did, in my opinion, mistreat the show when it was originally airing. It just felt like they didn't care about it, whether that's the case or not. But the fact that the show comments on it is amazing.
And even in general, it's like a line that you objectively can't really cross. So the fact that they're actually doing it is like, you know, that's... You probably nearly objectively would not expect that.
What did you think about the actual end of season 1, where it just them like, here's the first ever ad, and it abruptly cuts to what is a fictitious like travel log show,
well,
which
it was
ABC
like the cars, and then
ABC would have that kind of show.
What was it called? Town and Country?
Town and Country with whatever that guy's name was.
Like, I actually didn't know if that was a real show or not. I'm like, oh, this feels really real.
Can you imagine if you were watching that on TV and that just happened? It would feel real, right? Because ABC does have, and Australia just has those kind of little travelogue shows where it's like, hello, it's me. your trusty traveler, and I'm just gonna start walking around this little town buying, honey and shit, and like
local products and
local business,
events.
and you should check out this town. It's wonderful. Bye. And it's like 2 minutes long or whatever. You're like, why is this on TV?
And then I was
Why
just
is
looking at
this
the
here?
runtimes, like, is there going to be something after this? No? Oh, that's the end of season 1.
That's the end of season 1. Before we go to season 2, Bartek, I'd love to talk about the DVDs.
Sure.
I don't know who was in charge of this, but the DVDs are fucking amazing. And this is why I'm disappointed we can't buy them as easily. So Volume 1 has the anti-piracy thing that all the old DVDs had, where you remember that one where it was a graphic of like an old VHS tape, and then like some text would come sideways onto the screen? It had that.
Yeah.
But it's their version of that, in which it's teaching you how to pirate their DVDs and their show, which in one of the episodes of Double the Fist, they teach you that it's better to steal the show from a store because they still get money for it,
Yeah.
which is great. But this is teaching you how, like, it's basically the fuck you were going to teach you. The menu, if you leave it for too long, it will just cut to random clips of the panda in random locations in Sydney, like at a train station or catching a bus. And then there's special features. You have all those, and they're really fun and meta and very silly, and they have deleted scenes, behind the scenes. They teach you how to make Double the Fist, and it's really funny and educational and very wacky. And then they have one that says bargains. It's like a graphic. You press on bargains, and it's the full ad for Lakemba Auto World. And then you go back to the main menu and you have a quiz that you can answer called Are You Weak? Bartek, you press on it, and it has the graphics that Double the Fist have with that orangey background and the metallic font, and it just smashes on screen, like full screen, yes. And then you are stuck in a never-ending loop, and you have to remove the DVD from your DVD player and put it back in and go through the whole thing again, or else you're stuck on that screen forever. Shit like that is what I love about physical media and
That's
physical
creative,
things.
yeah.
And you're not going to get that on the fucking YouTube
Netflix
channel or on the YouTube. You don't get all their behind the scenes special things like that. And that's what I really miss, because that was creative. It has a character. That's the thing about season 1 in particular. It itself as a show has a character. Itself, not just the characters, but the show itself has an identity. It has a tone, it has a style, but more importantly, it gives off a character on its own. This angry little underdog show. That's what was amazing about it. And it won an AFI and pissed off a bunch of people. And then it disappeared. Little Ryan was watching it again and again, being like, man, I wish there was more of this. Then they said, hey Ryan, we're going to make more of it. And Bartek, let's talk season 2.
Let that be a lesson to everyone. Weakness leads to death. There will be a new era in converting people to fists, and we will not rest until everyone has joined us or been destroyed. All right, let's do it. Double the fist!
I watched season 2 when it came out. I was in high school. ABC did its usual thing, made a big fanfare about how they brought back this favorite show, and then pushed it back. Made it impossible, really, for younger people to really watch the show. Episodes just got later and later in my recollection, and I didn't get to see all of the episodes. And what I did see, I didn't like. But I didn't know why I didn't like it, because the season 2 has all the stuff that's in season 1, but it's all off and weird. And I didn't understand as a kid why I didn't like the show. I was like, what is going on? Like, there was things in the show that I didn't understand. Like, what is this? Why does the Womp have reindeer antlers? And even as a kid, I said, maybe I just don't get it. Maybe when I'm older and I've consumed more media, and maybe I will understand references and nods and winks and all that, maybe I'll get it. I watched it again for this episode for the first time since it aired.
Oh, okay.
Because I didn't have second season DVD.
Yeah.
And I want to watch the show on physical media, and I don't know what the deal is with the YouTube thing, but, I watched it again. It's the exact same reaction I had when I was a teen, in my early teens. I don't know what they want. Like, there were so many things in this season that I go, on paper, this should work, right?
I kept saying the exact same thing, on paper, on paper.
But the execution is so odd. And then there are just things in the show that I thought, maybe I'll get the antlers when I grow up. While the Womp has antlers. I don't know what that means. Why does Rod enter a door on a mountain and underneath it are people picking up things and then they grab a harpoon gun and then he runs away screaming? What was that? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. He said he was after the terrorists or something.
Yeah, because he had his memories from episode 7. I understood that.
Yeah.
But what were those things under the ground? Why are there elves? Why do they have distorted faces? Like, what's going on? There were so many things as a kid. I was like, maybe I'll understand it. When I'm older, have a bigger understanding of things, I'm still confused. I still don't understand what's going on. I don't get what those things were. That's just me. I'm thinking, am I too dumb? Or is the show just too nonsensical? And at the end of the day, unfortunately, I have to say, season 2 is nonsense. A lot of it is nonsense. There's so many things that could work on paper. Like, you think of the through line of, this is a season about Steve becomes a tyrant. That's what the through line of the show is. The slow de-evolution of Steve Fox and the Fist team, them separating, them breaking up, them falling apart, and Steve becomes basically Hitler, right? Interesting idea. Could work. But then there's just gibberish nonsense in there throughout the whole entire show that I go, why is this here?
I remember, the third episode really raised a lot of eyebrows for me.
Oh, you mean the one where they went to the IKEA ripoff? Is that the one?
That's
the
the
Fist furniture?
Yeah, that's the one where they went to Thailand.
That episode's near unwatchable to me. Like, I just did not know what the fuck I was supposed to be getting from it.
Yeah.
So, Bartek, before we start ripping at a new asshole of the season, because I don't think we liked it. I know I didn't like it, but you seem like you didn't like it either.
Again, there were just a few things that I thought were alright, but in general it was, again, yeah, it was off. When I thought about things objectively, they did seem funny on paper, but then the execution was just eh. And yeah, there were many moments where I just didn't understand something, and I was going to this episode being like, does Ryan get it? Am I going to seem weird for not getting it?
Dude, we could talk about that, but let's talk about some positive aspects, or some interesting aspects. Bartek, you're a big fan of the Australian TV series Pizza, aka Fat Pizza. I still call it Fat Pizza. I don't give a shit that they don't call it that.
Yeah, fair enough.
It always didn't it start out as Fat Pizza?
I think it started out as Pizza, then the movie was Fat Pizza, then it kept being Pizza, but then...
Fuck it, Fat Pizza. And you like some of their affiliate shows, right? Did you watch Swift and Shift Couriers?
Yeah, I think I watched all of them.
Ian Turpie, who played the boss in Swift and Shift Couriers, was in the first episode of Double the Fist Season 2 as the announcer guy of the casino.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see him. Second episode, the local council member guy was the actor Bruce Spence, who is in the Mad Max 2 and 3. He plays the gyrocopter guy in Mad Max 2, where he throws snakes from the sky. Cool. Fun. I mean, Arndo's in the show at one point, and I don't really want to claim that as a great achievement, but, like, cool. You got some cool little Australian personalities in the show. The show looks nice, sometimes. I'm just trying to think of nice things to say. The camera work is more ambitious, but also I have an issue with that. They have a nicer camera. The audio sounds a bit nicer. I like Mephisto's costume more in the second season. I like his full get-up. I think it's really neat. I appreciate the idea of a dark character study turn on our characters. There's nothing... That's the thing. All the issues that we'll talk about, a lot of them are in the first season. Like this crazy, like, supernatural fantasy tone, craziness, the characters being wooden and one-dimensional, but also having a lot more dimension to them. The weird cutaway gags, the music,
And
the mentality of characters, but
a lot of the episodes even start the same way as season 1. It's like, hey, here's the theme, here's the mission, here's what you got to do. And it gives you this promise of like, yeah, it's like season 1.
yeah. What did you like in season 2? Because that's it. Oh, and I like that we got some Aboriginal representation. It's always nice to see that on Australian TV. You surprisingly don't see it very often, but they had it here. And that's it. That's all I can really think of in terms of things I liked. What about you? What did you glean from the second season?
So this isn't really a comedy thing. That third episode, I agree, it is pretty... it's pretty...
You could say bad.
Pretty bad.
Near unwatchable.
Near unwatchable. There were some moments, like when you first go to that place in Thailand or Sweden or wherever it was.
Yeah, it was Thailand or whatever.
Like some of the ways in which they showed that location seemed very surreal, and from a surreal aspect, I kind of appreciated things there. Like there's the very sterile lobby, and they tell you go have a seat.
And they trick you with comfort. That was a clever bit of that episode.
And the theme of that episode was that comfort is weak. And then, they're all sitting there, and Womp has this like imagination sequence where they're getting like overly comfortable on there. And he's like, wait, this is comfort. So like little things like that.
There was little clever nuggets of things like that. Like how Mephisto thinks of things was really clever as well.
Yeah, and even throughout the rest of that episode, there were kind of, surreal things going on with the Womp, but then eventually it just goes too far. Like those misshapen people with the weird voices, the elves, like
Odin.
The
fucking wrestler guy. I don't know what the fuck that was.
Yeah, like Steve's having his own story. Like he's not narrating.
No. But before we see, we're already on the negatives. What were other things that you enjoyed? Was there anything funny to you? There was literally one gag I audibly laughed at, and that is a big no for me. Because season 1. I laugh out loud so often. Bartek knows this, but like, I love comedy stuff, but really, like, I'm not always laughing out loud at things. But that doesn't mean I don't find it funny. Like, I'm more of a good portion of the time, like 70% of the time, I'm just quietly going, yeah, that was good. Like, I like that. Like, because I like observing comedy. But this is season 1. I'm laughing out loud, as were you, and I would imagine you're laughing out loud.
A lot of observing, but like a lot of observing.
Season 2. One literal laugh I got out of it, but I won't tell you what it is yet. I want to hear from you if you got any other good things or things that were funny to you.
I guess I can think of 2 things. Like in the very last episode, when the assassin turns into a little girl
and then dies immediately.
And then Rod, the part where like Rod gives her a very like cliche, "You're free," like that got a laugh out of me, to the point that like I was giggling a fair bit, and I kind of overlooked the fact that she was killed. I'm like, oh, she was killed. Okay, but then the first thing was funny, And there's a lot of bizarreness to this one, but the sensitive, overweight men in the forest kind of...
Dude, you and I are on opposite parts, because I fucking couldn't stand that.
The beginning of their part, I liked.
For me, it was just too predictable. You animal skin. What animal are they going to get? It's going to be panda.
No, that part wasn't the funny part. No, specifically, it's like, where they're like, but are you strong enough to do this? And then they start crying. Like, that got to me, because I saw where they were going with it.
Yeah, you and I are on different parts. My immediate reaction to that was, Steve, punch him in the fucking face. I'll tell you my one gag that I got a genuine laughter out of. Mephisto is basically asking Steve to hold off on the great battle in the final episode, for all of his army to arrive, basically saying, you don't have the guts enough to verse a full army, Steve. Plus, you were going to have it after the supper. Carol's been working on this all week, and it just pans over to this woman just cutting food. She looks aggressive, and Steve obliges it by being like, out of respect for Carol. Yeah, that was like literally the only gag I liked, because I felt like Steve. Yeah. That felt like Steve Fox. That felt like the Steve we know. He would do that. As psychotic as he was in season 1, he had these code of honor, which the show forgets. Like at the end of season 1, we didn't say this, but at the end of the plot episodes of season 1, because season 1's episode 8 isn't a plot episode, it's like a special edition.
Yeah.
Steve dies. or sacrifices himself to stop terrorism from destroying the world and starting a new society of fist-worthy people. Season 2, he becomes the terrorists, basically. He wants to wipe out all weakness through physical force, which is what they were wanting to do, and rule the world with his superior fist-worthiness. But Steve, at the end of that episode, he gets called out, like, why are you stopping us? Is it because you care? You actually care about people. And it was a nice little moment of, Steve does care. Steve, constantly throughout the show, as exaggerated as he is as a character, he cares.
Yeah.
Season 2, I don't want to say that they forgot, but they just didn't apply that. Immediately he comes back down to Earth, and what is the best sequence in the whole entire show? Him grabbing his sunglasses in space and rocketing down. That was amazing. But immediately he's a completely different character. A completely different character. We were left with Steve actually has a heart, and he actually cares, and he actually has some form of morals, to a season in which he doesn't have anything of resembling that.
Yeah, he's flung off Earth, 4 years pass, he comes back, he's different.
And there's not enough explanation for why that is. The closest you get is he's disgusted that weakness is at an all-time high, and he just points to a chart, and that's it. That's all we get. You could say, Panda dying, but that doesn't happen until midway through the show, and he's already being psychotic by that point. And that moment where he says, out of respect for Carol, it was funny, but it felt like a Steve gag. That would be something Steve would say. And that was why it was funny to me. It was, it's a Steve gag. That's it. That was it.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's where the nice things end for me. Honestly, because I'm really trying to think of other things. When we finished the series, season 2, my wife said out loud, because the last thing you see in the show is the beloved character of Womp gets shot in the fucking face, and then they fly off. My wife just said, I fucking hate this show. At the end of season 1, she was really keen to know what season 2 was going to do about Steve. Like, where they're going to go with that. Like, she was like, oh my God, because she had already seen this show, but she hadn't seen season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2, by the end of it, she was like, I don't want to fucking see anymore. That means that the season didn't work. I have an investment in the show. I like the show from a kid. Rachel doesn't have that, and you don't have that. At the end of season 2, would you have wanted to see more from that universe or those characters, honestly?
Yeah, well,
would you want to see a season 3? Like, I know they weren't ever going to do it, I don't think, but would you have wanted, like, at the end of season 2, were you like, yeah, I want more?
I'd probably just say leave it at that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Because there comes a point where, I mean, it's a comedy show. It's meant to make you laugh, and when the premise of the second season is these characters are evil and they're getting more evil, what's going to be the punchline of every scene? They do something evil. And if you just keep doing, the funny thing this time was they do something evil or dark, it gets repetitive.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work in the first place, it's probably not going to work as it keeps going.
I mentioned before that the season 1 had a character as a show.
Yeah.
And this is a lazy critique to give, but it's one that's so apt, and I can't describe it any further, but the character of the show, not just the characters within, not just the tone, but the character of the show is off. It's just off. It just isn't right. And I know that but you have to say too, well, they can't just repeat what they did in season 1. Because that was 4 years ago, and they got cancelled, time's passed, and people want, you can't just go back to the way it was, because that's a weakness, like, that many shows have fallen on their face doing that too. You got to do something new, a new approach, but not too new, not too different. And this show tried to do both, but didn't like the old. There were so many times where they tried to do the old format of, like, cutaway gags, of, like, them using the finger guns. That felt like very season 1. Or them having a challenge in which this is your mission. But then it felt like the show didn't want to do those, and felt annoyed by doing those, and felt obligated to do those at a certain point, and then eventually just stopped doing them. Like, it had the facade of doing them, like, we're going to stop the invasion, you have this many minutes. But what made the show was each team member would approach the task at hand in their specific way. But But in season 2, Steve is a character in the missions, and he just tells them what to do.
And it's all...
And he tells them in his way to do it, and they just do it for the most part. They just do it in their way. And the only one who doesn't is Mephisto, and Mephisto's constantly shit on for doing it in his way.
Yeah, and it's presented in a very linear, not much skipped narrative structure, whereas in the first season, you saw bits of it, and it actually felt like, you know, a TV show, a game show. It's like, all right, let's cut to the let's cut out the fluff. Here's them doing it this way, and then later on, here's them continuing from here.
Yeah. There was the illusion that this was a challenge reality show. The second season made it feel like this is a narrative-driven show, and they wanted to have the facade that it's a TV show, but they also didn't want it to have that because it wouldn't make any sense.
And also, one of the aspects of the first season that they never really explained was like, what is Panda? And then this season, they make Panda something, and then when it's killed off for real, it's meant to be a big emotional moment.
There's just... It's off. All the character... Okay, I'll give this one thing. There's literally only one character in the entire show that felt accurate. Rod Fox. He felt like a natural evolution from what we had seen of him in season 1. He didn't feel off to me. I don't know if you felt the same, but Rod Fox... His character felt right to me. The others all felt wrong. They all felt weird. Like, Mephisto was weird and off. Steve, we all have a whole speech about Steve. We've already kind of gone into it. And Womp, I don't know. They tried to make Womp deeper, which he's a two-dimensional character. How much depth can you give? Like, you know, they were already giving him some depth in season 1, but Rod felt like the only one to me who felt like a natural evolution of what we had seen from season 1. They just cranked up his sex pest nature, they cranked up his ego, they cranked up his stupidity, and that was good because he was a simple character and they kept him simple. But the other characters, they wanted to give more depth or more nuance, and it didn't feel right. It didn't feel like these are the characters. This doesn't feel natural. This doesn't feel... Maybe you could do these things if you gave more time and did it in a more paced out way, but you immediately cut, and it's like, fucking Mephisto's helping vampires, and the Womp is doing this, and Steve's yelling all the time, and he's not doing that inflection that you love so much. He's got long hair, and that's aesthetic, but like, what's going on? And Rod Fox, to me, was the only one who felt natural to the transition between the two seasons. Like, he felt like, yep, that's Rod Fox. He was the only one that felt right. How did you feel about that?
Yeah, now that you mention it, that does seem pretty right, yeah. It's like he gained an insecurity in between, and that's about it. Which is his hair. Yeah,
which is his hair, and that's it. I mean, season 1, he didn't give a shit about hair. He waxed it off.
That's right, yeah. Episode 1, even.
Yeah, episode 1. A full leg wax. Bikini line, Steve. Bikini line. He felt like the only one that was true to the character. The rest of them... It's so hard to critique this season because all of it on paper, not all of it, God forbid, I can't say that, but a lot of it on paper should work. And a lot of it is in season 1. A lot of the weirdness, a lot of the zaniness, a lot of the character things are in season 1. But for some reason, the execution of it is just all wrong in season 2. And it stresses my brain that at the time as a kid, I couldn't figure out why. And as an adult, I still am struggling to figure out why this is. Okay, but like, there's a phrase that we really, really got hammered home to in university studying drama. And it's a phrase I didn't know when I watched this second season, but it's a phrase that my brain was forming when I watched it. Kill your darlings.
Mm-hmm. Kill your babies too sometimes.
Kill your babies, but kill your darlings, kill your babies. Which is, you have a great idea, you think it's a wonderful idea, you want to put it in your show, but it doesn't match. It's perfunctory, it's not adding to anything. You remove it. You got to serve the story, you got to serve the characters, but, you know, maybe you want to put in a sex scene, say, if you're Tommy Wiseau. It doesn't serve anything, but you want it. I want to have this. I want to have a car that shoots off into space. I want to have all these crazy things. This show is filled with that. Where you just go, guys, kill your darlings. You could tell, because think about it, Bartek. These guys got offered to come back, do this show, They're never going to get an opportunity like this again. You're drunk on power. I want to put everything in. Everything is put in. And none of it's removed. Maybe these things could work if it was placed better, but it's just like nonsense. I want vampires. I want fucking reindeer antlers. I want this. I want to put in this. Everything in the kitchen sink. This show is suffering from no one saying, guys, you got to kill your darlings on this, okay? You don't need this.
But just keep the essential stuff that does work.
But no one, it's like no one came in and said that.
Yeah.
No one. Can we talk about what are some of the most perplexing moments? What were some of the perplexing moments that you are like, what was this?
There was a mime.
Oh, you mean one of the Umbilical Brothers? That's one of the Umbilical Brothers. Those two comedians that do the noises.
There was a mime.
You don't know the Umbilical Brothers, don't you?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. The other one was in it as the two twin guards. That was like one always tells a lie, the other one always tells the truth. So there was a mime. So you were perplexed by the mime, huh? But the mime had a theme going on. We found a voice.
Yeah, he was...
Help motivate Steve.
He had a dramatic end where he was mute all along. That's why he didn't make a noise.
I get what they were going for with that, but who cares? Like, am I wrong? I know it's a very harsh critique, but who fucking cares about Panda falling in love with a fucking mime and there's like a tragic story and Steve gets triggered about it and then at the end, Steve at his low point gets risen up by the ghost and it's very Shakespeare. And it's like, oh, it was a mime and he was mute and he wrote it down and it's tragic and irony. Like, who... I don't care as a viewer about it. It just feels false.
Yeah, his introduction even was nonsensical. It's like, oh, here's all the old people going to the pokies and there's a mime.
It felt shoehorned in.
Yeah.
Felt like a manipulation. We need to manipulate the emotions of the audience and of the characters. Yeah, that was perplexing, but that one's not really as perplexing because there's an answer to that. You can see the rationale why that's there. It just doesn't work. There's not enough time spent on it. Panda's not a character, so you're trying to add depth to a non-character. Like, they never gave Panda any kind of deep characterization in any other episodes. The deepest you get is the golf one, where Panda's kind of like got a surly attitude, and that's kind of prevalent throughout the Cutaways where Panda will fuck up the one dressed as a rabbit. That's it. It's literally, Panda dies a gajillion times. Also, second season wants to have the cartoon logic of people can die and come back, but they also want to have that death as a permanent thing with consequences. That's kind of weird. Like, it doesn't work. It could work, but it doesn't. Could you explain to me the antlers? What is that? I know that they were supposed to be a symbol of responsibility, but why are they there? The Womp just grows antlers, and then they disappear when he feels like he failed in his role of responsibility as a leader. What was that? What was that?
I remember that there was a point where he got them and that there was a point where he lost them, but
You don't remember he was chained up and his pet Tamagotchi toy came on the screen for no reason and told him that he had to get responsibility. Then he grew antlers. And then he lost them when the fucking elves died and they're like, you're a terrible leader. And then he lost them because he lost responsibility because he failed as a leader. But what is that? Is that a reference to something? Is that a reference to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer or Narnia? What is that? I as a kid, I was really trying to figure out what the hell is this? Could you tell me, as an adult, could you tell me what that was? Is that some kind of in-joke that the creators of the show had and that we could never figure out? Right?
I think I just have to give the answer. No, I don't know.
No one knows. No one knows. I'm perplexed by that. I said it before, but what the fuck was that bit on the mountain where Rod Fox goes inside a door and there's like things under there and they grab a harpoon and they're like picking, what is it, weed or hay? We don't know. It's silhouetted and they grab a harpoon gun and then he runs away and we never see them again. Why was that included? What was that? Could you give me an answer what that was? Was that a reference to something again? Was that an inside joke? What was that?
I think that was just a callback that had no meat to it.
Well, no. Him saying the words before he entered that door is a callback with him being like, gotta get the terrorists. But once it's physically down there in the mountain and there's those silhouetted figures.
It has nothing to do with the terrorist plot from the first season.
And it has nothing to do with anything. Did those guys relate to those monks in the Fist Temple? No.
No, they probably didn't even exist.
What were they? What was it? What was it? What was it? Yeah, like, these are the things that perplex me. Like, why? There's just so much visual garbage, it feels like, of, oh, we're going to have Rod Fox have a dance number. Remember that?
Yeah, there was...
And there's an answer to that, because he's stuck in the mountains freezing to death, and he's insane.
Oh, right, at the end of the episode,
But why was that there? Why did they include that? Why was that given time?
Because character going crazy is funny on paper, or maybe not. I don't know.
Any other things that you found like what was that? Like, why was this here? Perplexing.
In the same episode, I can't remember if there was an explanation for this or not, but there's a part where gravity reverses.
They kind of give a half-hearted explanation where it's like, oh, it's not spinning, we are. And then they like lift up and then the earth stops. And I don't know. What was the Fist Temple about? Steve trained there and then he left because they were a bunch of pussies. But like, what do they do?
But they're better than him though.
But they're not, because, you know.
Oh, I just remembered something else I found a bit funny.
Oh, yeah?
It was in the last episode when there was the flashback to young Steve and young Rod, because the young Steve kind of did have some of the vocal inflections from season 1.
It's like he watched season 1.
Yeah.
But I hate that. I hate that we get a fucking backstory on his fucking glasses. They're not just glasses. They're supernatural.
Yeah. Fuck the glasses, but I just mean...
They made him evil.
Yeah.
Except for he was already evil before he had the glasses.
He was being a dick to his brother, yeah.
Like, I don't get what they were going for with some of that. I get the let's make Steve a tyrant, although I don't understand the journey that they went through with that, because, like I said, at the end of season 1, it was reinforced that he actually has a heart, that he actually does care, that he does not approve of the fist nature being used for tyranny and evil. Season 2, he's all for that. He's immediately a different character. Now, you said your favorite character was Steve. So how heartbroken were you with Steve in season 2? Because it's not the same character.
Yeah.
It's a completely different character.
Yeah, and
Rachel was waiting for it to be revealed that it was Cyber Steve or like Terminator Steve that they revealed in
the real
special
Steve,
edition.
The real Steve did die in space. It sucked, and because I didn't really invest myself in any other character too much, I couldn't really even turn to them. So it was just like, oh, yeah, he's. There's a shadow of that character I liked here. He's not being a host. He doesn't have the microphone. He's not going around just commentating.
He's not observing.
He's not observing. He's selling shit furniture.
Well, yeah, whoop-de-doo. There is an interesting nugget there, though, which is when Steve is given the opportunity to do one of their challenges, he gives up easily, and Womp calls him out for it. And that was great. That could have been a great episode of season 1, where in one of the episodes, Steve has to participate in a challenge. And wouldn't that have been funny? Or wouldn't that have been an interesting turn? That Steve is all talk and all bluster, but he doesn't actually have the experience that they do of putting themselves out there. That was a great little scene where he was snapping his legs and calling him a weak dog and doing all the Steve stuff to Steve.
In the snow, right?
Yeah, in the snow when they're falling down. That was good. But it was in a shitty episode that was all nonsense, and who cares about the guy who wants to see dolphins? I don't give a shit about him. Mr. Medieval Guard Man of Fist Temple, and he's convinced by Mephisto because he loves dolphins, yet he's never seen a dolphin. You're giving me this look like, oh, yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah,
That was a big thing.
I was trying to remember what name they gave him because it was a weird one.
I don't care. Dolphin Man. Like, this is what I mean. I literally do not care about any of these other characters. Like, I like Tara somewhat to an extent. I think it's just because the actress did a good job. I don't think the character was anything special, and they went weird directions with her rape. But Steve was such a disappointment. You're right. He's not doing the host role. But is there an inherent flaw in the idea of transferring that character from a host role to an actual participant? Is it impossible to do that?
No, I think it's totally possible because we saw him at the end of the first season being a man of action.
So, what about how they did it in this doesn't work?
Well, a lot of the times he's away from the action.
Yeah.
Is a big problem. But I guess with that being said, like the second last episode where they're at Botany Bay, he is part of the action most of the time.
Yeah. Or the one at the Fist Temple.
At the Fist Temple, yeah.
Or, yeah. But what about it just doesn't... I still struggle. I think it's just his characterization's fucked. Because it's like they reverse engineered the show, I think. It's like they knew what the end point was, and they had to manufacture it to get there. Steve turns evil, so we have to have Steve be evil. But, like, Steve was psychotic and definitely not a great guy in the first season, but you wouldn't say he was pure evil.
No, yeah, he had the ideology, and I kind of bought it, where he wanted weak people to become fist-worthy, and I think even at the end of the logging episode, he had a soft spot for the forests, right?
And Mephisto, he was like, "Hey, it's great to see you again, buddy."
Yeah. Yeah, and he had tender moments like that, like whenever he called Womp Wompy after he did something.
Yeah. And, ooh, look at the ass on that one. Which, again, the first season planted little seeds of his latent attraction to the Womp. But season 2 just is like, we're going to crank that shit up to 11, where at the end they kiss. And you get, I don't know, I was thrown off. Don't know how you were with the full-on making out sesh between Womp and Steve at the end, but it kind of just felt like, kill your darlings. Like, that was an idea that they always wanted to have in there, and they just put it in there.
See, because Steve was wearing the sunglasses, I thought he was passed out.
No, they were making out. That's why he kills him at the end, because you chose love.
Right, yeah.
But what was the... I think it's just that Steve's characterization and performance is so much more... It's less interesting because all he does is a performer. I think Craig Anderson really nails it in season 1. He evidently is a great actor, or at least he can play Steve Fox really well in that first season. But season 2, it's all just shouting. That's all it is. It's just anger, shout, shout, shout. There's no nuances. There's no hidden depths or interesting inflections or mannerisms or anything that would make it a character. It's just a shout, evil, angry, vile man.
Evil, anger, shout, dark, and those are the punchlines to most of the jokes.
It's just he shouts and punches, and that's it. There's nothing clever there in the performance, which there was in season 1. And it's disappointing, because as an adult, I think Steve Fox is the best character as well. But in season 2, I think it's Rod Fox, because he was consistent. The Womp was weird. They wanted to keep that childlike innocence babiness to him that's like a dumb guy, but they also wanted to make him like the future hope for humanity. And there's like will he or won't he? It's like, of course he won't. Of course he... Did you ever question that he would kill Steve? To save the future? Yeah, I didn't, because it's the Womp.
We already saw the future, and evidently that's where they're going.
Oh, here's another one of a what the fuck was that? Why was there a dinosaur in the Botany Bay?
Oh, the thing that ate
Mephisto? Yeah, why was that there?
That was weird, because before he was eaten, it sounded like he summoned it.
Yeah.
For a purpose, but then for the rest of the episode he was gone, so it was like... And then he killed it, and
then it turned into a fossil, and he exploded out of it, even though it's not even thousands of years before. It's like literally like whatever. Okay. I'm straining because that first season is so great. I think it is a great piece of television. I recommend it highly. The first season is just okay, wonderful. It's one of those things in which, was it lightning in a bottle? Do you think the first season could have just been a one-off? Like it was just all the circumstances, the moon, the sun aligned with the moon, and it was just by happenstance that it turned out the way it was. And maybe, unfortunately, it was a happy miracle that it got cut off at season 1. Do you think it could be that? Because it's the same creative team. They've been given more money. They've been given more abilities to do things, and this is what they give us in season 2.
To redirect and rephrase the question a bit more to you, what if after season 1 was finished, you were to go to the team that made it and say, make one more episode? Do you think that one more episode would fuck it up in a way that season 2 did, or do you think it would be one more episode that would be in line with how season 1 went?
I think if it was straight after the show got cancelled, it would have been good. But I think the time period, like the 4 years or whatever, I don't think so, no. I think that they should have just made another show. At the end of the day, I think that they should have just made a completely new show.
Spiritual successor or something completely brand new.
Something new. Don't make another Double the Fist. But people wanted another Double the Fist, so that's what we got. And unfortunately, this is what we got. But what do you think? Do you think, this is just a case of this was luck? The circumstances, because when you do see it, the first season it's rough around the edges. You see a boom mic here, you see a cameraman there, you see it's not a perfect show, but it's simple.
I don't know. I think they just fucked up. I don't think it was luck or bad luck. I think it's just, they didn't have a great follow up.
But I do wonder if they had a continuous run, how the show would have gone, because a part of me is just being cynical, but I think maybe it was luck. A part of me does think, maybe the circumstances of how that first season was put together restricted them. They had a lower budget, they weren't getting the airtime that other shows were getting. They'd won an AFI and everyone was pissed off at them. They were new, they had made a couple of short films, but this is their first show. All of that kind of stuff. I wonder if it was all the circumstances of that produced this show in the way it was. You get 4 years of stewing, of, we got cancelled, how fucking dare they, or whatever the mentality was. It's 4 years of stewing in whatever. And then you get the opportunity to come back and you get to do whatever you want, and this is what we get, and it's unfortunate. I'm trying to think of what else to say about season 2. There's just too much to say. There's so much in there.
Yeah, it feels like an episode by episode base. All right, what happened in this one? What happened in this one?
What are some things you want to bring up about season 2? Because there's a lot in there.
I guess one of the ideas that I liked on paper that just didn't work was when he did have the whole furniture business and everything kept getting cancelled and they weren't selling anything. I did like the idea of, absolutely ridiculous thing, furniture that, hurts people is meant to be, super tough. Reality just bites it and it's of course that will fail. Of course no one wants to Of course no one wants to be hurt. That's funny, but the way the episode plays it out, it didn't really, do anything with that idea.
Season 2 is just a show that ditched what season 1 was about. Because there are no real challenges. There's the facade of a challenge, but really here's the plot of the episode.
The missions are all self-serving to an end goal.
Yeah. There is no challenge or the characters approach it in their different ways. They somewhat do, but really it feels manufactured, or it feels like Steve wants them to do it in a specific way, or this, and this.
And also because they have a more, stronger desire to characterize, we have to have a lot of focus of, the character interactions of, I made a TV show of my own. Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah,
Rod and Mephisto are friends, and then Rod betrays him, and Mephisto's angry. It's well, they never liked each other. It was great.
You could have done some funny stuff in that, like, cumulative 30 seconds.
Yeah, and special effects. Season 1, charming. They were never good, but they were effective. They were used effectively.
And they
got the point across. They added to the comedy.
A lot of them sucker punched you, like you weren't expecting them.
Season 2, they're so prevalent. They're distracting, and more importantly, they detract. They detract from the thing. And I just gotta say it. They're fucking hideous a lot of the time. The show, camera work, is mixed. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, but the quality of the camera and the audio is much better. But then you've just got terrible green screen. Like, not charming green screen or charming effects, but hideous to look at. Just gross.
Like whenever there's the mass fight scenes where, like, a bunch of enemies appear and
they're all on green screens. And it's not charming like it was in Season 1. There's so many times where it's like in Season 1 they would film in a real location and they would add CG elements. But in this, they've got a green screen of that location because they can film there or whatever to do the action. It would be too hard. And the CG was just all in your face all the time. Like, even the end credits. All the end credits to the first season are very, like, fast, and it's like they don't give a shit, and they add funny little jokes in there. Season 2, it's like, it's that, but it's times 10. It's like, let's crank it up. And it's like, I could not watch the end credits with any enjoyment because it's just a lot of visual nonsense at you.
I think one episode also fucked up with the opening, and I don't know if this was meant to be funny or not, but in one of the episodes, you know how it shows, like, the character and then, like, the text of their name? In one episode, they didn't show Rod, Fox, or Panda's names.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Like,
Interesting.
Like, maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure there's one episode where they just didn't show their names.
I gotta check that out. I didn't notice that. I kind of got glazed over.
I think it was one of the earlier episodes, because, yeah.
But
Panda, obviously, so yeah, it would have been one
they
of the first
just... Yeah, the special effects are really abhorrent. They just have bad actors, too. Like, a lot of the competition winners, they can't act. And they were probably people who helped help bring the show back. I know that there was a lot of people who did help bring the show back. They got to be in scenes or whatever, and that's cool. Unfortunately, a lot of them weren't great actors, or at least they didn't feel convincing. And that was a bother. Ando, as the computer hacker guy who owns the time zone thing, he was really playing up the I'm doing an Asian guy accent, and it was just, like, terrible. I don't know if you remember that. But
no, I remember, yeah. Crackpot or whatever his name was.
Awful. And I like Ando. I think he's a charming guy, but either he can't act, or they had an idea, or he had an idea of, I'm going to do this funny accent. And it just didn't work. It was just like, oh, this is a character. It was funny when the characters in the show that we have are characters, but everyone else is normal.
Yeah.
Like the terrorists, they were just guys in Season 1, Episode 7. They were just normal dudes. It was funny that they were fans of the show.
Yeah.
But they weren't like zany characters. You had the German guy, and he was just like, I'm an evil German guy saying exposition. But he wasn't like a zany character. But Ando, he's just playing a zany character. And then at the end, he's alive somehow. And they have all these gimmicks, like he explodes, he dies, like a video game where he has like the rations pop up. It's like Metal Gear Solid type thing, right?
Yeah.
Just visual nonsense. Like, why is that there? Oh, because it's funny? But I didn't find it funny. And that's the thing, humor's subjective. But in the end of the day, the biggest crime of this show is not just characterization, but it just wasn't funny. For a comedy show, that's the bare minimum. Be funny. And it wasn't. At the end of it, my wife said, I fucking hate this show. And at the end of Season 1, she loved it. That kind of says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Can we talk about how the show does a great job of dealing with sexual assault in Season 2 by saying, let's rape the rapist?
Good job.
Good job.
Good job, Rod.
Like, it makes sense. Like, that could work. As terrible as it is, it could work in the zany, mean-spirited comedy way, where Tara, the vending machine assassin thing, who I cannot stand that, by the way. The actress is great, but I don't like that whole fucking stupid sci-fi bullshit.
Well, she wants the tokens, right?
She wants the tokens. But she rapes him, basically, with her whatever she had down there we didn't get to see. And it's supposed to be funny because, Rod Fox is a rapist, basically. And it's funny, the rapist got raped. That's funny. It could work. With the tone and the spirit that this show has had, and even that season has, it could work. However, it is a little odd that they kind of do have a flirtatious thing again when she's back.
Mm.
And it feels genuine. And I'm like, both of them are horrible people. Why should I feel any remote thing for the fact that they do like each other? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Rod Fox should never be capable of having actual love, even though their love is a fucked up thing. Just think what he did to Tina. And we never see her again after season 1. Good, because she's like, I'm out. I stabbed him. But, I don't know, that was just so fucking weird. It's like, we're going to add this sexual element here. Okay, Rod Fox is sex pest. They cranked it up to 11. They did a good job. But then at the end, it's kind of like, oh, well, he's still rewarded, though. Because he loved her. She died, saving him. She self-sacrificed. She didn't mean to, but she did.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be sweet. And I just didn't buy it. Not at all.
And then she became a little girl and died.
And then died. And that's season 2, isn't it? I'm trying to think, what else do we want to bring up?
How many fists do you give it?
No fists.
Okay.
Seriously, though, what did you think of the Steve being the dictator of the world at the end, and how that whole plot line panned out with we saw the future and what it became, and the Womp Resistance Brigade, and the Womp didn't stop it and it fulfilled itself and all of that, and then he dies and Steve is pure Hitler now. How was that for you?
No fists.
Yeah, no, really. It's just so bittersweet. And it could be a good bittersweet, but you just don't like it.
Where does the sweet come in?
Well, no, like, bittersweet in terms of, like, we enjoyed a thing.
Yeah.
And now it's turned, like, bittersweet of, like, oh, the Womp tried. The Womp fell in love and it bit him in the ass and all that. And you're like, oh, it's just such a bittersweet ending. Like, ugh.
I think it's straight up downer.
It's a downer ending. Yeah, you're right. It could work, but it just doesn't work. And at the end, it's just like you hear the Double the Fist theme song have lyrics, but you can't even hear what the lyrics are because the music's so loud, and you just don't care. The show's over, and there's no promise of a third season, and nor do you want to see one. And that's Double the Fist. Strong first season, weak second season. I feel bad because I would love to talk to any of the people who worked on this show and interview them and chat to them. I think they're interesting people. They've gone on to do interesting projects. I enjoyed other things they've all worked on. I physically have met one of them, by the way. I've met the Womp in real life. I've told this to you before, but I met him at a music festival, the Big Day Out, in between the 2 seasons. And he told us his name. He's like, oh, my name's Tony. And my dad and I are like, yeah, whatever, Womp. We just kept calling him Womp because that's what he is. And he's not really gone on to do anything. He's like the one out of the 4 that hasn't really gone on to do anything that I'm aware of. But
so are you saying that there is a chance that you meeting him fucked up season 2?
Maybe. By me asking him where can I find a volume 2 because we couldn't find it.
He's like, volume 2, season 2, that's a great idea.
And he was telling us that, it hasn't been distributed yet, but we're getting on it. It's like, okay, cool. And he was there with a girl who we're like, oh, your girlfriend. He's like, oh, no. So, something was going on. Tony, something was going on there. I know, I remember.
He remembers you too.
I mean, I wonder how frequently for him, like a 12-year-old child or 13-year-old child would come up to him at a music festival and talk to him for a solid half hour about Double the Fist happened to him. I wonder how often. I mean, I would remember that if I was him, but maybe he has had that frequently happen to him. Who knows? But Double the Fist, a show that is a unique Australian thing that has been forgotten, unfortunately, or at least hasn't been, like, held up to the esteem that it, I think, should. I think that first season is worth watching.
I think one of the comment sections for one of the first episode mentioned that internet celebrity Yahtzee recommended it somewhere, so maybe that can be some obscure facet of the internet.
But unfortunately, it hasn't been talked about, it hasn't been thought about in a while, and that's a bummer. But at the same time, season 2 did kind of stomp it into a grave for me. I really did think as an adult, I'm going to appreciate this. I'm going to notice, I know what they're doing. Like, I'm going to know that Steve Fox is an evil tyrant and it's going to gel better. And it just didn't gel better. It's a bummer. It's sad. Bartek, I'm glad that you sat down and watched Double the Fist. I was like, oh, is he going to hate this show? Because you have a very selective taste when it comes to television comedy.
Yeah.
Yar. And you don't watch a lot of Australian television comedy shows. You seem more like, I like pizza. And that's kind of it.
Yeah, I guess.
Like a bunch of the ones I listed at the start of this, like Life Support Review with Miles Barlow and so on. Those aren't shows you've seen or heard of, really.
No, I've mainly watched, like, Chaser stuff, Chris Lilly, Pizza.
That's it.
Not all that much.
Not all that much. I've watched a bunch, and there's a lot of shows I enjoy that I just wish were in better circulation, and this is one of them. And Double the Fist had, like, it had this underdog quality to it, in which it felt like, they pushed it back and no one was watching it, and then it somehow won a prestigious award and pissed everyone off, and then somehow the fans got it to come back. And it was amazing. And they were interviewed on Triple J about it and the radio station. And they got the second season. And the ABC did the same fucking thing again. But reasonably so, I guess, because season 2 to me is a disappointment. It's one of the big disappointments. It is one of the first things, Bartek. I don't know if you have anything like this. One of those things where you're like, man, I wish there was more of this. And then you got more of it and it was trash and you just go, man, I really wish that I didn't get more of this. Do you have stuff like that?
I feel like I have had that, but my mind is slipping.
Probably an anime of some sort.
Maybe.
I wish I had more Death Note. Well, it's that the live action movie. Huzzah. Well, no.
The Japanese one or the American one?
Both.
I haven't seen either.
Both.
I think there's more than 2, but I haven't seen any of them.
All of them. Bartek, thank you for being fist-worthy, talking about Double the Fist for an exuberant amount of time. I don't think anyone's talked about Double the Fist for this long.
I'm surprised it went for this long as well. I truly think that I am... What was the season 2 thing? Man of Fist?
You're Man of Fist. That's the thing. There's a surprising amount of depth to this seemingly shallow show, in which at first it's like, oh, it's just a silly little zany show in which they do this. But that first season evolves a lot of stuff, and then the second season is a complex mess. It's not just like a boring mess. I was never bored. I was frustrated throughout. That's what I would describe. But it's a complex and fascinating mess in which you just say, wow, I don't know how they got this made, other than, like, people wanted it, I guess. But, like, how did the ABC look at these episodes and go, yeah, that should be on our channel? I don't know.
Maybe it was
they
more.
did.
Maybe it was more of a. This is what they wanted. I give it to them.
But
I
that's
guess.
also what you could say as a positive about season 1, where they looked at it and said, yeah, that should be on our channel. I don't know, but it's amazing. Bartek, thank you very much again. Listening people, you can find us on the social medias of Facebook and Twitter, Spit and Polish Presents. Our email is spitandpolished@gmail.com. You can email us with your thoughts. You fistworthy. You could email us with suggestions for our weekly show, in which we talk about a movie that has come recommended. And if you are one of the legendary Fist team and you want to talk to us, I would love to chat. Spitandpolished@gmail.com. I mean, I'd love to chat, although I know that you probably wouldn't want to chat to us because we just fucking wiped our ass with season 2 longer than we talked about how great season 1 was. But truly, season 1 was a piece of art that has only 4 musical stings in the entire show, and when you binge watch the show, it's really noticeable that they only have like 4 or 5 music tracks.
Like the
or
I liked it when Panda tapped the cigarette to their mouth. I thought that was funny.
I thought you would like it when that Edith's introduction was a Bollywood type introduction where it froze in place and a bunch of these psychedelic flowers came on screen and they played Indian Bollywood music. I thought you'd like that.
I don't remember that music, but I liked Edith as a character very much. I liked her moment where she was like, ah!
Or when she made her tea. When she made fist-worthy tea by boiling it in her hands and pouring it down her throat.
I think Edith was very undervalued.
She I don't know, Darren, the amazing Darren was pretty good. I don't need no key. I'll figure it out on my way down the hill. So, Bartek?
Yeah.
Are you weak?
No, I'm man of fists.
Yes! And I just extend the yes for an eternity. Yes!
And then Edith and I go, ah! And then Ando goes, oh, hang on. I don't know.
Also, if you're an ancient demigod listening to this podcast and you haven't given us a 5-star review, you better keep on listening. And you better keep on giving us 5-star reviews or I'll hunt you down and fight you.